The second full-time driver for AJ Foyt Racing has been announced for AJ Foyt Motorsports in 2021, and the first JD Motorsports driver has been announced full-time for the 2021 NASCAR Xfinity Series season. We got a lot of NASCAR stories to discuss here on the channel, and IndyCar stories as well. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Let's start off with some pretty awesome news for those of you who are part of the NASCAR industry. Dustin Albino, who's worked at Front Stretch for the last couple years, is going to be joining jski.com in 2021. This is really, really exciting news. I'm really glad that Dustin Albino, I've been following his work for the last couple years. I think he's a very, very fantastic reporter. He's done a really good job in the NASCAR industry, and I think this is a very, very fantastic opportunity. And I'm very excited to see what Dustin Albino is going to do in 2021 in the NASCAR as in J-Ski as well. I think he's going to do a really good job. Up next, we're going to talk about Castrol, as they will sponsor both Ryan Newman and Chris Buescher at Roush in 2021. Great to see major sponsors sponsoring teams that are not as good, but also not terrible as well. It's also great to see that we're seeing major sponsors continuing to sponsor in NASCAR. Over the last couple years, there's been a lot of major brands that have been leaving the NASCAR industry, and it's been really putting a burden, and it's been much harder to get sponsorship in NASCAR. But even look, especially over the last couple of years with 23XI Racing as well, they've got a lot of major sponsors. And we've seen some sponsors that have been kind of major come back to NASCAR over the last couple of years. But Castrol is a major brand. It seems like Ryan Newman is a guy that brings a lot of fun because, again, he's a well-known driver, not because of his crash, by the way, but because he's a well-known driver, because he's been in NASCAR a very long time, and especially when NASCAR was at its peak, he was around a time. Of course, he wasn't the most popular driver, but Ryan Newman brought a lot of sponsorship over to this team, and that's one of the reasons why Roush family has been able to survive, which is kind of weird thinking Roush is able to, have sponsorship, considering, like 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, they were struggling for sponsorship, and now they're kind of having a lot of better time with getting sponsorship. Hopefully the sponsorship can help this team become a better organization. It's really great to see Castrol returning to Roush Family Racing to sponsor them in 2021. On to the next story. Earlier this evening, Rick Ware Racing announced their number lineup that they are going to use for 2021. The numbers they are going to use are the 15, the 51, the 52, and the 53. The 15 car is replacing the number 27 car. That 15 was acquired from Premium Motorsports as Rick Ware Racing earlier this year basically acquisited the Premium Motorsports team earlier this year. So those are the four numbers that they are going to use in 2021. I do feel like Rick Ware Racing, with them teasing the numbers, I do feel like an announcement is coming in the near future. I think that there will be some announcements on this very soon. Now, there is some speculation going around. Are all four of these cars and numbers, are they all going to be chartered cars? While there are people speculating that all four are going to be, I do not believe that all four numbered cars are going to be charters. I think three of them are going to be charter cars. I don't think all four of them are going to be charter cars. I would assume probably the 15 to 51 and probably the 52 are all going to be chartered, and probably the 53 car is not going to be chartered. So who am I speculating is going to end up driving these cars? Well, I could see it being maybe Kyle Weatherman could be in the running for these cars. I could see Joey Gase, JJ Yeley, drivers that have driven for Rick Ware Racing, James Davison as well. I think the drivers that have driven for Rick Ware Racing this past year, many of them are going to return in 2021. Though I could be surprised, and there's some drivers we not even thinking about that couldn't have driven for Rick Ware Racing in 2021. But those are the numbers that have been announced, and we will, in the near future, find out what's going on with Rick Ware Racing and what their details are for the 2021 season. On to the next story. Last night on NASCAR Series 7, a lot of people did not catch this, but I caught this last night. Chris Sauer from Our Motorsports was on NASCAR Series 7, and he released some details regarding what they're going to be doing in 2021. So, Our Motorsports is going to have two entries in 2021. We do know that Tyler Reddick for sure will be driving a 03 at Daytona International Speedway. But he also detailed that Our Motorsports will be using ECR engines, which this doesn't surprise me. Tyler Reddick has been working with Richard Childress Racing, and until this year when Hendrick and ECR partnered up to have one component engine for the Chevy program, they basically not surprised that they're going to be using ECR engines in 2021, which is a pretty good upgrade for this team. The number that they are going to be using is the 03, which doesn't surprise me either. They're going to have the 02 car, which will be driven for Brett Moffitt full-time, though he's not going to be running full-time for points, and they're going to have the 03 car. Now, they said something that I've kind of had information on for the last week or so. One of the drivers that is expected to drive this car is not just Santino Ferrucci. is Patrick Emmerling. Patrick Emmerling, according to Chris Sauer, will be driving in multiple races for our Motorsports in 2021, though the number of races has not been given. What I've been hearing is that there's going to be 3 drivers possibly driving his car. The first one is Santino Ferrucci. There's been rumors going on for the last week or two that they're going to be using Santino Ferrucci possibly for up to 20 races in 2021, but that deal has not officially been finalized up to this point. The second driver is Patrick Emmerling, which, again, the last time he raced in NASCAR, Xfinity to my knowledge, maybe was back in 2017. So it's been a few years for Patrick Emmerling, but it's great to see him coming back. He's guys driven in the Wheel and Modified Tour, and he's had decent success over at the Wheel and Modified Tour. And then the other driver that's been rumored for some of the road course races is Andy Lally, who actually raced for our Motorsports this past year. So I think that this will be a 3-car operation in 2020. Well, not a 3-car operation. 3 drivers splitting the ride. Though I think the majority stake is going to go into Santino Ferrucci. But if I told you that did not know about this, I'd be kind of lying to you. I've kind of had inside information on this story. And some other stories maybe could be coming out here very, very soon as well. But pretty cool to hear that Patrick Emmerling is going to run some starts. It's been a couple years, but really cool to hear some news on that front. On to the next story. We're going to talk about Johnny Claussen, as according to Chase Briscoe himself, who had an interview recently today with Bob Pockrass, he states that Johnny Claussen is going to be the crew chief for Chase Briscoe in 2021. Once it was announced that Richard Boswell was going to be going to crew chief for Riley Herbst, which a lot of us were speculating that Richard Boswell was going to go Chase Briscoe to the Cup Series. When this was announced that Richard Boswell was going to be crew chief for Riley Herbst, there was a lot of speculation that was started that it was either going to be Billy Scott or Johnny Claussen who was ended up being the crew chief. And just like I expected, Johnny Claussen is going to officially be the crew chief for Chase Briscoe in 2021. Now, I cannot really say if this is a good move or a bad move for Chase Briscoe. I don't know really last year, to be truthful, if it was just, they weren't as good last year, but I'm not going to really 100% blame Johnny Claussen or just blame Clint Bowyer. I don't know if it was 100% Clint Bowyer's fault, if it was Johnny Claussen's fault, why they kind of struggled last year. Because to be truthful, they didn't have as many good performances in 2021. But I'm really hoping that Johnny Claussen can really help Chase Briscoe and kind of coach him. But I can't say if this is a good move or a bad move. I can't really say if it is good or not. Because to be honest with you, he's had decent success. You know, he won a race with Kurt Busch back, I think, in 2016 at Pocono. So he's won a race when, Tony Gibson was suspended. He's had decent success. He's gotten a couple wins in NASCAR Cup Series competition. But is he really going to help Chase Briscoe? I really don't know. I don't know if this is going to help. I don't know how it's going to hurt. I really don't know. I can't really be telling you how this is going to be. But we now know officially that Chase Briscoe is going to have Johnny Claussen as crew chief. I'm not surprised one bit on the story. On to the next story. We're going to talk about the one IndyCar story we have in this episode. As it was announced today from AJ Foyt themselves earlier today on a Zoom call, that Dalton Kellett will be driving full-time for AJ Foyt in 2021 in the IndyCar Series, and he'll be driving the 4-car full-time in 2021. I cannot get excited about this one. Yes, I'm not surprised. He brings a lot of funding. He's keeping his team afloat, so of course, he's going to probably end up getting a full-time ride. But I really looked up his stats in his career so far, and really the only reason he's here is because of money. Let's be truthfully honest. Dalton Kellett's really only here because of money. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like a good dude. I think a lot of fans do like him. A lot of fans are excited. So a lot of people do like Dalton Kellett personally. But I have to look at performance. I don't care if you're a nice guy. If you're not doing as good on an organization. Yes, I know AJ Foyt Racing is really not a top-tier organization. I truly understand that. But they got Sebastian Bourdais on their team. And I expect that Sebastian Bourdais is going to out-qualify Dalton Kellett on a weekly basis, like George Russell does and Nicholas Latifi at Williams in the F1. I do not think Dalton Kellett will finish probably even in the top 20 in points. He finished 26 in points in Rainbow's year. Like I said, his best finish was 2 20th place finishes at Road America in 2020 IndyCar. So I really can't get excited about this. On top of that, I don't think he's going to 100% suck, but I don't think he's going to really do anything. And, he didn't do much in Indy Lights. He didn't do much in the other series. And I can't really get behind this move. I really, really can't. But I hope he does well next year. Hope he impresses me. Maybe he'll get top 20 points. I really don't know, but I don't think he's going to really do that much in 2021. I think Sebastian Bourdais and whoever else gets announced is going to outperform him. And I think a big question is what happens with Charlie Kimball, because he's basically taken over what Charlie Kimball drove this past year. I honestly think Charlie Kimball could be going to either Carlin Racing or he goes to Dale Coyne Racing. There's a speculation that Charlie Kimball could go to one of these two teams. I'm leaning toward Coyne right now. I'm really leaning that he will end up going to Dale Coyne Racing, Charlie Kimball we're talking about. We'll have to see when that gets announced, but I'm not excited about this move. Dalton Kellett is driving full-time for AJ Foyt Racing in 2021. And now we're getting on to the final story of this episode, as Colby Howard is the first driver from JD Motorsports officially announced full-time in 2021. He'll be driving the 15 car full-time in 2021, and Wayne Carroll will be the crew chief for Colby Howard in 2021. To be truthfully honest with you, I had a lot of high expectations for Colby Howard in 2020, and I had to also remember kind of curb my expectations on Colby because, again, I really didn't know much about Colby Howard. You know, I kind of compared him to Jeff Gordon last year, which I think I probably shouldn't have compared him to Jeff Gordon. I think that was a little bit too easy on him because he was driving for JD Motorsports. But he had some decent runs. His best finish was 12th at a super speedway course last year, and he finished 26 in points. He ran 20 races last year. He didn't do terrible. He didn't do great either. But again, you have to also remember that he drove for JD Motorsports, especially in a pandemic year where he didn't have a lot of experience, which is one thing. If he had a lot more experience, he probably could have been pretty competitive. I mean, yes, Ryan Vargas did perform at times better than Colby Howard did, but I can't be, like, excited about this move, honestly. I mean, I can't really say how excited I am for Colby Howard. I think ultimately what Colby Howard's goals should be for in 2021, I really think he needs to look at, probably trying to contend at least for top 20 in points. I know the Xfinity Series is going to be somewhat competitive, but there's less cars as well in Xfinity Series that are also uncompetitive. So I think a realistic expectations, I think top 25 is where he's going to end up finishing in points. Though I think he could exceed those and maybe get a top 20. I think he could surprise people. I think he does have potential to do it. I mean, he's only 18 years old. I can't really be too harsh on the guy. He's only 18 or 19 years old, so he's kind of newer to the sport. And there's only 6 or 7 guys that are younger than 20 years old or younger than me. He's younger than me as well. So I have to kind of be realistic with younger drivers, especially when they're driving full-time for teams like JD Motorsports, So I can't really say how good of a driver Colby Howard is truly going to be next year. I really hope he does really well next year in Xfinity, but we'll have to see how he does. And can't wait to see him. Let's see what he does in 2021. So the other big question, they're probably going to have 2 full-time drivers. Who do I think the other full-time driver is going to be? I think you're all going to be excited about this one. I think Ryan Vargas will be driving full-time for JD Motorsports, and out of the 4 car or the 6 car, probably going to be the 4 car. And I believe that Ryan Vargas will be taking the TikTok sponsorship over to the 4 car full-time in 2021. So, anyway, that is going to be for today's Motorsports news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications so you get me notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Link description below for that. And comment your thoughts on today's video. What are your expectations for Dalton Kellett? Do you think Dalton Kellett is going to do really well full-time in IndyCar next year or not? Let me know in comments below. And how excited are you about Colby Howard going full-time with JD Motorsports in 2021? Do you think he's going to do really good next year or not? Let me know in comments below. I do know that there's going to be another video released tomorrow. There's a lot of NASCAR news supposed to be getting released. We know that Lumar is expected to announce their sponsorship with Hendrick Motorsports for 2021. We also do know that BJ McLeod will be announcing his second full-time driver with that team. I'm assuming it's probably going to be Matt Mills, but we'll have to be intrigued to see what happens in 2021 and when they announce that tomorrow morning, late morning, early afternoon, when they go ahead and announce that. So, anyway, like I said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to do like it so YouTube can recommend more of these great videos out to you guys. If you do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Anyway, once again, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.